The region will be stronger if you work together. When we have transboundary challenges, then we have to find transboundary solutions. We are very much hoping to see President Mirziyoyev in Brussels. It's long overdue, linking Central Asia with Europe. If one route is blocked for one reason or another, or face difficulties, then we have to have alternatives.
Good afternoon, Your Excellency.
Good afternoon.
Thanks for agreeing and making yourself available for this interview.
With pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you. So, in the beginning of our interview, I wanted to quote what you said back in July 2021 when you were appointed as the EU Special Representative for Central Asia. Quote, "The mandate of the EU Special Representative for Central Asia emphasizes the need to strengthen regional cooperation and stability in collaboration with the countries of the region and other international actors. In the coming years, this will be even more important than before." And looking back to 2021 and events that came after that, these words looked like somehow prophetic to me. So I wanted to ask, did you expect so many challenges coming at you in that position?
Yes and no, I think that's the short answer, because of course we could predict that there will be a change, some kind of a change in Afghanistan. We knew already that the coalition was withdrawing. Of course, we didn't foresee how rapidly it will all change. It changed 1 month after I entered into this job. But of course, there have been other geopolitical changes like the war in Ukraine and other events in the region. So yes and no.
And if you look back in all these almost 4 years of your work, what do you think, what kind of results did you and your team achieve during the time you served as a EU Special Representative?
I think that actually, referring to your previous question and the quotation, I think we have actually reached a lot. Despite the difficult years in that sense, you mentioned the importance of regional cooperation, and this has actually happened. The regional cooperation in Central Asia actually has increased. We have been able to also strengthen our cooperation, and they raise the level of cooperation between European Union and Central Asia up to the leaders level. Then we have also had a ministerial meeting with European Union and Central Asian countries in the kind of composition of 32 ministers in Luxembourg last year. We have created a new roadmap for our cooperation, which is supporting the implementation of the EU Central Asia strategy from 2019. We have been able to organize several regional events. My team has been instrumental in organizing the Civil Society Forum, the Economic Forum, here in Tashkent, 2 forums on security and youth action on water. So so many events have been taken place, but I also think that this cooperation and deep and close dialogue between EU and Central Asia has been kind of a result of these past years. Also, the European Union has introduced big programs under the Global Gateway Initiative. One is, of course, on connectivity. We talk about connectivity nowadays a lot. Some Team Europe initiatives on green transition, green development, like water, energy, on digitalization. So there are a lot of events, of course, when you look back at these 3-4 years.
You mentioned the regional integration process in Central Asia. and you talked about that there were some good developments. What about now? Does it still have that momentum, or does it look like it's slowing down?
I think it has a momentum, more than ever, I would say. If I predicted that for 4 years ago, I think it was clear that we have to strengthen the region as a region. There were certain intra-regional challenges, I would say, like the Kyrgyz-Tajik dispute of the border and other issues. But I would say that there is still a momentum more than ever, because it's not just empty talk that the region will be stronger if you work together. Be it economic development, political dialogue, connectivity, water resources, how to solve the kind of regional challenges. I think it is definitely important. And I see also that during these past years, your presidents in the region have been very active. I mean, the consultative meetings of the leaders have been happening on a yearly basis. Certain priorities have been taken. Also, the interaction between the capitals on different levels, governments on different levels is happening, and there are plans for future. There is a agreement or treaty for friendship and cooperation, good neighborly cooperation for the region. Those signed only by 3 countries. But I see that this is also an advancement. And the more you do, the more you see that it has benefits when the region is acting as one strong entity.
Mm-hmm. And the experience of EU can showcase this.
Yes, and EU, when then we have other regional, of course, arrangements or cooperation like the Visegrad countries, the Nordic-Baltic cooperation, because of course, I mean, you can always work with your neighbors. I mean, there's also healthy competition in all regions. This is clear. But I would say that when we have transboundary challenges, then we have to find transboundary solutions for those challenges and strengthen the networks, connectivity, trade, good neighborly relationships. So, I mean, this is kind of the basic policy which should actually be on everybody's mind, to have good neighborly relations with your neighbors.
Absolutely. You said that interactions between EU and Central Asia were raised up to the leaders' levels. And in 2024, there was planned the first EU Central Asia Summit with the participation of both EU presidents, President of EU Commission and President of European Council. But then it was rescheduled, and according to the latest statements, it's planned to happen in 2025. I wanted to ask, what were the reasons to postpone such a high-level event?
First of all, I think that we all are very sorry that we had to postpone it. But unfortunately, last year or this year was quite challenging. We had the transition period in the European Union. With the elections, yes, in the spring, late spring, and then now I think we've always witnessed the formation of the new commission. Actually, this is the first working day for the new commission. Everybody, so to say, are sending messages from Brussels that we are now actively working. No, it was unfortunate. Look, it was a calendar issue. There's nothing political in that. And we are very grateful for your president, your government, extending the invitation to organize this first ever EU Central Asia Summit, as we call it, the full-fledged summit, in Samarkand. And it will be quite an event. It will take place next year. Now when our new leaders in Brussels are in the office, they'll check their calendars and they will definitely find a date for this meeting, because it is very important, and it also seals the high-level dialogue we have been developing these during these years. So that is the only reason why it didn't happen. And I also want to say that unfortunately also, of course, Central Asia was not the only region which suffered from this difficulty in the calendars and transition period in Brussels. It was many other regions who didn't get the meetings they were so much hoping for.
I see. So,
Да ладно, сюда хотела бы вопрос добавить, раз мы заговорили о встречах. Есть ли вероятность того, что давно ожидаемое подписание соглашения о расширенном партнерстве и сотрудничестве будет подписано на полях грядущего саммита, либо это все-таки будет при визите президента в Брюссель?
расширенное сотрудничество.
Yeah, I got it. Yes, look, I can say, look, when the agreement will be signed, the enhanced partnership and cooperation agreement, of course, it's pending on the internal procedures in Brussels, because I mean, our structures, the Commission is working on it, and also in the good cooperation with the member states. So we try to speed up with the processes, but the EU bureaucracy is quite heavy. So I cannot tell you today how the arrangement will be, but of course we are very much hoping to see President Mirziyoyev in Brussels. It's long overdue. We've all been waiting for that, and let's see when the signature and his visit can be then accomplished. But I cannot say today because the procedures take place, and it is not in my hands today to predict that.
I see. And in that sense, what will be the main topics of the discussion for the summit for 2025?
Well, of course, I think that it will take all the issues on the agenda which we have now been working for. So our kind of cooperation agenda, it's quite fixed, the agenda nowadays. It is about connectivity, security, geopolitical developments, climate change, all the issues we've been working with. But of course, there have been, several topics which will arise just before the meeting, and we are of course preparing to all of that. But in general, it is about EU, Central Asia cooperation, how to develop that, how to strengthen that, how to widen the dialogue, and be the best partners we've been, for the past 30 years.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Можно еще добавить? Вы упомянули вопрос безопасности, который будет упоминаться на саммите. Безопасность какого именно рода? Продовольственная, климатическая, силовая, политическая?
Very good question, because security is a very wide topic, and actually this is part of my mandate, and I am very much have been dealing with security issues during my whole diplomatic career, so it's very close to my heart. But it is in the wide perspective. Look, here in Central Asia, we have had for years already programs which we have implemented concerning border security, law enforcement forces, and reform and other kind of security topics which are very pertinent to this region. And let's face it, now in the current situation, when we know that Afghanistan will be a very challenging neighbor for Central Asian countries and also for the rest of the world, border security and also the threats stemming from Afghanistan will be on the table, definitely. What can we do together? And these include, of course, cooperation in counterterrorism, radicalization, extremism, all those topics which are very important for all of us globally also in the current situation. So mainly this, but also wider topics like climate change, water, resilience, and how to tackle with those problems which are already looming in the horizon for Central Asia more and more.
Mm-hmm. And when it comes to Afghanistan, will it also include the refugee issues, the Afghan refugee issues?
Yes, absolutely, it will, definitely. And of course, the education, I know the Central Asian, Uzbekistan definitely is doing a lot to mitigate the risks, and also you have been very much supporting the education. Afghan people, girls and also Afghans all together. So it has been a great kind of gesture your government has been offering and is doing in cooperation with your neighbor, which is of course a challenging task, which we absolutely appreciate.
Your mission is coming to an end at the moment when relations between Uzbekistan and the EU are reaching highest levels of cooperation ever. But this year, EU and Uzbekistan signed MOU on launching strategic partnership on critical raw materials, and also EU stated that it's working on connecting Uzbekistan to its satellite networks. What is the project? What's the progress of these projects at the moment, and are there any other this sort of large-scale projects on the horizon?
Thank you. It's very important. I mean, critical raw materials and access to them, of course, it is the topic of the day, and definitely we have been very glad that we signed this agreement also with Uzbekistan, and it was last spring, and now we are preparing a roadmap how to implement it. This is definitely an important step because it's for both of us. It's an important sector for cooperation for the future. It's a long-term plan also to do that, and it's linked to connectivity, what we've been talking about, because of course you have to transport the goods also to the European market and Europe. So it's in the process. Definitely, we are working on a roadmap, and that will then be further implemented. The other one is the digitalization. This is part of the Team Europe initiatives under the Global Gateway initiative, which we have launched here in the region. And this is also quite well now progressing in that sense that the issue is about providing satellite internet connections, satellite links for all Central Asian countries in order to add to the access to internet, for instance, in remote places and remote regions, so that all people of Central Asia, Uzbekistan, would have an access to digital services and also internet. So this is now, from our side, I mean, all work is done. Now there is a negotiation process with the service provider, European service provider, and Uzbek government. And I hope this can be also concluded as soon as possible, and we can progress with that. I think this is an excellent project, especially for people who are living in a shadow, covered not by cables or the internet services which are already existing in the country and which in Uzbekistan are well advanced. But I think this will be a good additional element in that.
And what about projects that will be the same large scale that are new for the cooperation? Are there any on the horizon?
All in all, it is the connectivity. I mean, that's also my kind of favorite topic because first of all, not just because I came here to my first ever meeting in Tashkent. It was this wonderful high-level connectivity conference in Tashkent, but it was in July 21, and everything changed after that. But connectivity project is very important because first of all, it has a long history. We've been talking about that for years, linking Central Asia with Europe more closely. And it is, in a way, now taking or progressing in full speed, in that sense that the connectivity which we speak about is about Trans-Caspian Transport Corridor. It's not just one corridor from Central Asia to Europe through Caspian Sea, through South Caucasus, through Black Sea or Turkey. It's not only that, it's about network of logistics and transport routes in Central Asia. Because we feel that by improving the connectivity between the 5 Central Asian countries, we also improve this regional cooperation we are so much talking about, which we want to increase. It is about connecting people, but also it is about trade, economic possibilities. According to all statistics, the intra-regional trade is very small. So the volumes will increase by improving the transport logistics, the routes and the railroads, and also taking some measures on the borders, on the kind of regulations, the tariff systems inside the region, and then linking that all to the kind of networks through the South Caucasus and further on.
Mm-hmm. And it will also help Uzbekistan to diversify its export routes.
Absolutely.
If done correctly.
No, absolutely. Uzbekistan is a landlocked or double landlocked country, as we know, and you have big challenges, of course, and of course one corridor doesn't exclude the other. Mm-hmm. We understand that there are other plans, and also this is all good, because I think that in today's global world where we face challenges, if one route is blocked for one reason or another, or face difficulties, then we have to have alternatives, especially in Central Asia, especially in Uzbekistan, where you don't have access to sea. So it is of crucial importance to have all these opportunities, and we think now in the current situation it is important for the future to improve the links, to improve the options, also for connectivity to tie Central Asia, Uzbekistan, also to the European networks through South Caucasus.
Mm-hmm. EU sanctions envoy, Mr. David O'Sullivan, has been actively visiting Central Asian countries in the last couple of years. In one of the meetings, he made a joke in that if I'm not coming to your country, then it's a good thing. You should be happy that if I'm not there. But still, I would like to ask, are there any new visits of the EU Special Envoy planned to Central Asia?
Yes, there are, but I mean, I don't think it's bad news at all that if he comes. I think, David O'Sullivan is a very experienced EU diplomat, and he's definitely trying to be of assistance and help. The sanctions are a very complicated issue, but of course they were put in place because the European Union and other Western partners, we want to stop the war in Ukraine and definitely try to prevent Russia for circumventing the sanctions. We have never actually asked Uzbekistan to align itself with our sanction policy. Not at all. We just want to prevent the circumvention of the sanctions, which will enable, of course, the warfare in Russia. And we talk about so-called battlefield products and dual-use goods. And this is David O'Sullivan's job, to follow what is happening and try to prevent and mitigate the situation, what is still unfortunately going on. But with Uzbekistan, I want to say, Uzbekistan is of course not the only country we have. He's visiting all our partner countries, and he is very much looking into the visits and in-depth dialogues here. We have a good cooperation going on with the Uzbek government, so it has been in place from day one when the sanctions were introduced. So, but it's not bad news if he comes. I would say that it's good news. The dialogue is going on and it's on a positive track. So you should be looking forward to his visit
We will.
again.
We will. And from your perspective, how well is Uzbekistan and Central Asia doing in terms of that cooperation, in terms of not letting Russia to circumvent sanctions?
Well, look, I mean, you are doing a lot. I mean, the whole point is here that we have to understand that in these kind of situations, of course, there are always people, companies who want to misuse, because it's big money. It's big money which is linked to this kind of technology for the battlefield. So we find them in all countries, to be honest. It doesn't demand a lot of fantasy to understand that's happening. But I think that Uzbekistan and the willingness to cooperate with European Union is very important in this question. And definitely we have been happy with that cooperation. The other thing is, of course, that we have to just work closer together. And as we do with the other Central Asian countries, it is in the interest of the region also not to let use the territories or the countries to circumvent the sanctions.
Your Excellency, thanks a lot for your time. Thanks. For your answers.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.